Hey!
Woo! And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. This is Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Ooh, Dan, hi, everyone.
And we are here for one of the scariest shows of the year, the Halloween special. Woo!
This thing is going to be a monster.
This is terrible. I can't see anything. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining the show. If this is your first time joining the show, we try to go live every week on Wednesday. Where's the mic? On Wednesday, around 10 o'clock Cali time, 1 o'clock Eastern. And you can actually comment, and we can add your comments to the show, which I can't at this moment because I can't see anything. But we love for you, if you're just tuning in, to comment. We also would love for you to share the show. I can't put in the text of the show to share the show because Facebook would clearly suppress us, but definitely share the show because I feel like people don't need to miss our costumes. Maybe we need to define it, Dan. Do you want to tell everyone where your famous, is it 90s or 80s?
1984 is where this costume is from.
There you go. Can anyone name that show that Dan's costume is from? Maybe that's the test of the day. I'm sure people are saying things, but I can't. Let's see if I can.
The first comment, Melly Mel had a comment. She's like, I can't deal with Ghost Ray.
Is it too scary?
It's just too scary.
She did guess my costume. I am a ghost.
How did you guess that?
Yep. It's from many moons ago. This ghost character was around. If you Google it. We have a ton of really scary real estate news to talk about today. But some of it is like spooky good, actually.
And by the way, Ray, I know you can't see the comment, but Leaper got it. It's Karate Kid, yes.
Yay, Karate Kid. Yeah, I'll display your comments whenever I can actually see my screen again. But we have a whole bunch of really good real estate news to talk about. We're going to talk about how everyone is predicting that there's a pending crash coming, and every amazing barometer of real estate is pointing downward. But it's also pointing downward by pointing upward. It's just really confusing. If you've been looking at the headlines, I call them haunted headlines. In the, that's good alliteration and timely and seasonal. Right. But it really is like, it's really interesting to see how the news stories are currently being twisted. Maybe we'll get off this soon. So we're going to talk about the real estate market and what's happening there. We're also going to talk about 3D printed houses. We've mentioned this before. And there's another company that's doing some 3D printing, but they're not doing full 3D printing. They're just doing partial 3D printing. So we're going to talk about that. Another interesting story that I really want you guys' opinion on, John Legend is speaking at the National Association of Realtors. And you guys know some of his previous comments that we've actually talked about too. So I'd love to get your opinion on that. So if you're a real estate agent, and you're watching this, or if you're in the real estate industry, if you're a lender, title company, we have one of our favorite inspectors watches the show. Please share the show. Also tag other people that are in the industry because we really want to know. We want to have a conversation about some of these topics. Maybe I should reveal myself. Are you ready? So
it's going to be funny when they realize the secret. It's not Ray under there. It's someone miming Ray. It's going to be awesome when they realize that wasn't Ray. It was Ray the whole time. Here, and then are you guys ready for it to get scarier?
Here it goes. What's behind Dan? Oh, it is Dan.
It was me the whole time.
There you go. Melissa said she can't get it. Chris, that was one of my favorite movies growing up, Karate Kid. Oh, and someone said it's really, really good until you watch it again as an adult.
Oh, no, it's still amazing.
Mike Elizabeth Rodell said, neither ghost or skeleton have beards. Boo. Oh, wait, did she mean boo? Or did she mean boo? So we were trying to be true to the character, right? I don't see many ghosts or skeletons with beards. Mike Elizabeth Rodell brings up a great point. Didn't John Legend call us racist and that we don't offer equal opportunity housing? So this is going to be some of the discussion that we have a little later. So if you're watching the show, please share the show, share it to your stream. And I can see some of you that are watching that have not commented yet. So we do want you to comment. Dan, before we get into some of these articles, would you be so kind as to tell people what the Bearded Men of Real Estate show is actually all about?
You know, I would love to, Ray. Now, when Ray and I met over 3 years ago, we're just going to say 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while.
It's been a long time. I had an idea for a show because I'm, in fact, a bearded man of real estate.
Beautiful.
And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him. He grew his first beard at 2 years old.
Yep, it was early.
Did you guys know that? No, he did not grow his first beard. Baby beard at 2 years old. But he actually had a layout for the show, a format for the show. It's the same format we use today. But what I also noticed that he loves giving value up front to his clients and just as a human. And I like to do the same. So it's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
That's right. And that's why we asked you to share the show, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this later, the replay on YouTube, we're actually broadcasting live on YouTube as well. But the reason why we do that is because we want to give value to our industry. And by covering what is happening in the real estate industry and maybe a less sensational take on some of these sensational headlines, it actually prevents us from getting lots of clicks and lots of views. Because if you're less sensational, people don't really want to see it in general.
And we just aren't.
But we believe that that's important, especially for the real estate market, to maybe have some sanity. So please do share the show. And also, I kind of made a mistake. Like, I was early today. Did you notice that? Like at 11 o'clock, or maybe it was 10 o'clock, I shared links to the show and put those out there. Normally, we do that closer to when we go live so that we could get more people. But I was just like, I was flying through my task list today because I got a busy afternoon coming up. So it would help us.
Well, also, we believe that just breaking it down not only helps agents, but it helps consumers who are. So if you're a consumer watching the show, make sure to comment, share, whatever. But you know, we're hopeful that it helps you as well. And then we also do believe that we work in an industry that needs more schooling, needs more knowledge, needs more breaking down of headlines, and needs more big brain power.
Big brain power.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching lots of Among Us videos, so big brain.
That's funny. I haven't played that game yet. Still, I've just been too busy. So apparently I gotta get into it.
Me too. That's why I play video games until 2, 3 in the morning and then sleep for a couple hours.
There you go. Speaking of getting into it, Dan, you ready to get into the show?
Absolutely. Strike first, strike hard. Oh man, I messed up.
Listen. All right, there we go.
Sorry. I went right back into Karate Kid. Sorry.
Well, it happens. You're remaining true to the character.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about this headline. September existing home sales jump 9.4%, but prices rising too fast. Supply remains tight. So I'm going to throw a whole bunch of statistics at you guys, okay? After I learned to speak, existing home sales are beating expectations, spiking 9.4% monthly, which means that it's up 20.9% annually. So this is the fastest pace since May of 2006, which many of you might call the pre-crash time period.
The pre-boom boom.
That's right. Supply is also down just 2.7 months of supply nationally, which is the lowest amount of inventory that we've had since realtors have begun tracking the number in the wonderful year of 1982, the year I was born. So that means the inventory also fell annually 19.2%. And homes are also selling faster, just 21 days on the market, which is also the fastest ever recorded. And this is talking about in the US. Some other interesting stats: first-time home buyers fell from 33% in August to 31% in September. You probably most likely reflecting the lack of supply in that price range. Homes over 1 million doubled. Homes sold over $1 million doubled year over year. Vacation home sales, which we're going to get into those two articles in depth a little later, but vacation home sales are also up 34%. So there is your general quick take on the 2020 fall economy.
Okay, hold on.
Christian Harris says 82. What a young whippersnapper. That's right. That's right.
Really? Yeah. I was born in 73, just turned 47. Couldn't be happier. I'm a little bit older than Ray. I'm running some quick numbers in Rancho, by the way. So let's do some quick math. So closed since January 1st to today in Rancho Cucamonga single family homes. There's been 1,039. Here, ready?
Yeah.
Uh,
1,039.
do you have a calculator up?
No, I have a pen and paper though. 1,
Okay, so 1,039.
39. Yep.
That's closes for the year until today. Now let's go current actives, single families.
Christian here says, "Wow, you are old."
I am.
You're old.
So if rough math would be, that's about 104 closes a month.
104 closes per month. Okay.
Roughly. And there's right now single family actives in all of Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Yep.
142.
So right at 1.5 months of supply, give or take.
Yeah. So we're quite a bit lower than, and that's actually up. I remember when it was just over a month. So things are slowing a little bit, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Christian Harris says he's right in the middle of us too.
That's what she said.
Stuck in the middle with you. Mm-hmm. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Right. This week's musical breakdown brought to you by
Insert your ad here.
Just go ahead. Just literally just put your name out there. We don't need money. We don't want money. We just want sponsors to help boost the show.
Use some money. So I would have to I do want to, speaking of sponsors and ads, I appeared on Hometown Heartbeat with Zach Walker yesterday. So you guys know how I have like a tech bent. So I'm getting my fix by doing a little contribution to their show where I will go live on their live stream and on their radio show and do a little tech spot. So sometimes it'll have something to do with real estate. Other times it'll just be tech. So anyway, I wanted to give him a shout out and a thanks for having me on the show. It was fun. He's
an agent too, right?
Yeah.
I think he's with Remax.
I don't know if he's still an agent. I know for a while he was doing the agent thing, but now he's a radio guy. I don't know if he's full-time radio guy but I think he is.
A beard witch.
A beard witch instead of a sandwich. Okay.
That's what I'm going to be for Halloween. A beard
witch. All
right. Now this one's interesting to me. I'm going to kind of go through it quickly. But the Redfin CEO expects absolutely insane demand in housing market to last into 2021. And this is from CNBC. So the CEO of real estate brokerage Redfin, Glenn Kelman, told CNBC on Thursday that he anticipates the Rona-driven boom in the housing market will persist into next year. The demand for housing is primarily being driven by affluent professionals who are able to work remotely, Kelman said. That has given them the option of moving out of major metropolitan. I messed that up. I knew I was going to mess it up. I messed it up as I read through it the first time. Metropolitan. I almost said metropolitan, but metropolitan areas into more distant suburbs, or he said buying vacation homes and then taking a permanent vacation where they're working from those homes. So when we do, like Ray said, we have more on that later. So we all know this stuff, right? This isn't really anything new, but here's where it gets interesting, in my opinion. His quote, low interest rates are motivating home buyers. However, he pointed out that interest rates will not always be low. Now, Ray, a week or two on the show. I mean, that's a obvious statement, but a week or two.
Sensational.
Was it last week on the show? We mentioned that economist. She said for the next few years that they're going to stay 3 years.
Yeah.
They're going to stay around 3%. So that's the opposite of what she said. Now, here's his quote. Part of what is fueling this boom is the economy has just split into two, and rich people are able to act. Remember, this is a quote. This isn't us saying this. Rich people are able to access capital almost for free. So, of course, they're going to use that money to buy homes. And then he goes on to say, there's just another group of Americans who are still struggling, who can't access the credit because we've raised credit standards. And you have high unemployment. I just think those two trends at some point have to collide. So
if those trends collide, which way would we go? Would we restrict money for the rich, or would we give more money to those with bad credit? Like, what is he saying is going to be loosed?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. And it seems so black and white to me. There's nothing black and white about this, because if what he was saying were true, then that lower part of the income bracket wouldn't be buying any houses, and we'd have a ton of inventory in the low in the lower end of the market, right?
Yeah, you would think that there would be more inventory if the lower income folks or bad credit folks didn't have access to cash. But what is his definition of rich people?
Well, that's the other thing. And Mike Elizabeth Rodell makes a great point, because usually during these times of uncertainty, quote unquote, rich people are saving their money. They're not buying anything.
Yeah.
If you follow
very
Dave
good point.
Ramsey, then you're saving right now.
Or it's Susie Orman. You're not making a move at all.
No. Well, but right now we should be crashing. Your house should be worth 50% less if you're listening to Susie Orman.
Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective. We know that they look at the data from around the country as they kind of peel through what's happening in the MLS. I would be interesting to hear more of what he's thinking. Like, okay, what if that collides? You have rich people that are getting more access to money, other people that can't buy houses. So are rich people going to be then buying houses at the lower income to rent to
and
the
then
folks
rent them out, right?
But you have a credit check before you rent these days.
Well, it's hypothetically or theoretically looser credit lines to rent a home than it is to buy a home. Because remember, not the only reason, but the reason they're tightening credit is because lenders are overwhelmed right now. They wanted to slow it down. Remember, we had Frank Gray on from the Brian Stevens and Frank Gray show. What is it called? National Real Estate Post.
Yes.
And
which we're featured on the website by the way. So I'll mention that every time we mention their show.
So don't go to our Facebook page and follow it and then watch every show and share every show. Go to their page,
but follow it and watch every show.
Yeah. Go follow them and then you'll get us. But he meant they tightened it up on purpose so they could slow down their workload, and then they'll just adjust as they need. And private lenders can adjust whenever they want, really.
Yeah. So okay. So let's say we'll quickly move on to this afterward, but let's say that he's saying, well, these tightened lending constraints for people with okay credit, that needs to be loosened. Aren't we putting ourselves at risk of another subprime?
Well, how much loosened based on how tight they've become, or loosened even more? Yeah. I just think his statement is a little broader, a little too black and white, and a little, it's a little biased just where he sits. He's the CEO of a company, and what he sees, the numbers he sees, and it's only one company. I don't know if he's watching national trends like we do.
I don't know if he's definitely not watching our show. He needs to watch our show.
I think the problem, Glenn.
He'll get more of the information that he's looking for if he watches the show.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's go. Let me see if anybody's. Good comments here. Christian Harris says, I remember what happened last time, that they thought it was a good idea to make it easier for people with poor credit to qualify for mortgages that they predictably couldn't afford. Yeah, see, this is exactly what we're saying.
See, I don't think he's saying that, though. I don't think he's saying.
He's definitely alluding to it. I mean, he's
right.
I mean, what's the agenda behind him saying that there's two classes of people more separated than ever, divided by good and bad credit, or rich and bad credit? Which, by the way, you could have good credit and not be rich. I mean, can we talk about that for a second?
Specifically bad credit, though. He says those who can't access the credit because we've raised the credit standards, and then you have high unemployment.
So the credit formerly known as
right bad credit. That's just the CEO way of saying bad credit.
Yeah, it is. It's a clean way of saying what he thinks is bad credit. All right. Well, speaking of banks in trouble, let's talk about Singapore. And could Singapore be a canary in the coal mine for the United States? Banks may have to brace for heavy losses as commercial prices plunge. Okay, so more and more people are working from home. Large office buildings are still not filling up, and even more have emptied out. Oxford Economics Adam Slater stated this that in previous downturns, commercial property losses were heavy, and they were the signs. And there are some, I need to make my font larger. And there are signs that this could happen again, mainly due to the Rona. which we've talked a little bit about what's happening in the commercial industry and how there's been a lot of people predicting that it'll never be the same because so many people are working from home and the shared workspace thing. Like y'all remember what was the guy that was kind of flamboyant that was getting in trouble because the shared workspace deal? You remember?
He's the CEO of WeWork, right? Adam
WeWork,
whatever.
that's it. WeWork. Yeah. So y'all remember the WeWork? It was kind of all the rage for a little while, and then the Rona has actually sent people more at home. Okay.
Right, but then last week we covered just a new type of workspace. What do they call it? Ecologic, but there's some new
biolithic design.
Biolithic design. There you go.
Yeah, biolithic design.
So that would kind of counteract this, but I think this is something we kind of need to watch.
Yeah. So basically, banks are holding a whole bunch of commercial paper of buildings that are emptying out, and landlords may not be able to pay the rent. Yeah. So in Singapore, office rents were down 4.5% in the last quarter, which is the largest drop in 11 years. So Slater goes on to state that the risk is highest in the US, Australia, and parts of Asia, such as Hong Kong and South Korea. On the upside, though, many analysts think the commercial market will be very different, might continue to drop, but in 2022, make a full or beyond full recovery. So there's a couple of competing analysts that are looking at the commercial market as a whole. This article came from CNBC. There's a couple of other articles out there that's talking about the difference in how people work that we've talked about in the past. So y'all can look at those if you want more info. But I thought this was just kind of an interesting story. As you know, Dan, we are carried around the world. And
we are worldwide, yes.
But it is interesting to look at another economy and see what's happening due to COVID. So many people in Singapore now working from home. Could this trend happen in the United States? It seems like a lot of people right now are working from home. How are the businesses going to continue? Are they going to continue to hold an office space? In Arkansas specifically, are there going to be changes in how a real estate brokerage is mandated to have an office space? Would this be a reason to get rid of that mandate? And
will EXP see a boom?
Will cloud brokerages like Real see a boom? Mike Elizabeth Rodell said, I mean, the restrictions I'm seeing right now are making sure that they have jobs and they actually pay their bills. All right. So she's talking about the credit. That was right. Responding to the credit we were talking about. Melissa Mara said, dude, get your eyes checked. Maybe. Well, obviously I've had them checked. It's just small font. Okay. She said, she goes on to say, I haven't seen many commercial spaces go empty during the Rona, but the ones that were empty before are still are in town. So here, I have seen commercial buildings empty out and people starting to just dump their lease in favor of a work from home type situation. So there have definitely been several businesses or offices in the area that are still operating in the area. They're just not operating in that commercial space that they were previously in. So that is definitely happening in our market. What about there, Dan?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just try to make clips for Matt to cut.
So much color commentary. I appreciate you adding so much to the discussion.
I just don't want to. I don't know. I think it's awesome. We're covering. Oh, there we go. I need to make sure I'm on the right one. What happened?
Mike Elizabeth Rodell says, I think more commercial buildings will be converted to delivery warehouses for convenient shopping and delivery. Yeah, very possible with the moves that Amazon has been making around the country, and more the shop from home experience that people are doing. I could see there's already a couple of kitchens in Little Rock that make food and just deliver only, and you can't even can't find the place. They don't have like a place to go in and sit down at all. It's just like the back of a warehouse.
Yeah.
Commercial kitchen.
We have a lot of those businesses that have just, they were dine in, but they've essentially turned into caterers and they just go do bigger parties. But yeah, as far as like commercial around here, it's mostly smaller businesses and they haven't really shut down. It's if they run a business that hasn't been really hit by the Rona, then they're still working. They still went in. They just wrote, they didn't really listen. They still put their masks on and just went into work,
Yep.
So I haven't seen like a mass exodus or like just buildings pop up, but my eye line for commercial real estate isn't that general, I'll say.
Christian Harris says, that's what I did. Dropped my office lease to work from home permanently, saving $3,000 a month. Lots of commercials sitting vacant in Seattle. Wow.
Yeah. So he's on a permanent vacation. He gets to work from home.
That's what they say.
Yeah. See, there you go. I just go to my regular spots. And if they're there, awesome. If they're not, oh, well.
He goes on to say, especially downtown with the mayhem of the riots. Oh, yeah, that's right. Have y'all taken that back, by the way? Or is that still like some kind of weird district? He said 118 businesses have left the DT Seattle corridor so far this year. Wow. Now, have they left as in they're no longer operating the area, or have they just shed the commercial space they were in, or still kind of operating in Seattle like a work from home type of environment?
I'm assuming the latter.
I'm assuming the latter as well. Probably retail outlets and things like that can't operate. But
yeah, and I'm far enough from downtown LA that I don't really pay attention to it or what's going on there, and I don't really work it. As far as it's very, very specific as far as if you're going to live there or do some commercial space there. So I don't pay attention to it enough. But
right,
it's always rough in downtown LA, so it's not. There's just because the Rona's happening, there was something before, and then there'll be something after.
Christian thinks it's probably just physically left the area.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, what's happening with home prices?
Well, we actually get a positive headline.
Whoop, whoop.
Home price index sees greatest gain in over 2 years.
I have to confess that there were 4 or 5 other negative headlines about this home price gain. And I specifically went and searched for a positive-ish or at least neutral headline. Just so the viewers know.
And 9 times out of 10 you can find that at Housing Wire. And this article is from Housing Wire.
There you go.
They don't try to sensationalize things. They did like a month ago, and we hit the store, and it was like, this is weird. It was like a weird opinion piece on Housing Wire. They're like, our numbers are down. Throw something crazy out there.
We need some clicks.
Yeah. But the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index of home prices in 19 U.S. cities rose 5.7% in August. Remember, these are always a couple months behind because they wait for the data to come in. And that is compared to a year ago. The greatest year-over-year gain since 2018, which I think is kind of a funny statement. The greatest ever in the last 2 years. Driven unsurprisingly by tightened supply amid record low interest rates. This is a quote. Who is this quote from? Matthew Speakman. He's an economist over at Zillow. By some measures, home prices are rising at a faster pace than they ever have. An incredible feat considering the market is rising from an already elevated level, which I think is a very important point. The supply of for sale homes, already extremely tight, has only become more constrained in recent months, and historically low mortgage rates, which could end soon or could go for the next 3 years, depending on who you listen to. They continue to encourage many buyers to enter the next market. Though supply remained tight, the industry may be catching up as single-family housing starts, more on that later, rose to an annual rate of 1.108 million in September, a level not seen since 2007. And up from August. And that's according to the U.S. Census Bureau. So those home builders are getting going.
We were talking about at the very, very beginning of the year that housing starts look good, that they were up 13%, and we expected to have more inventory added to the market this year. There were going to be some good buyers. We expected rates to remain constant, and everything has changed in that. And the Fed has been in the news lately. There were some opinion pieces that we did not add to the news because I didn't feel like it was newsworthy, but one of them was like, is the Fed running out of ideas to fix this economy? So the Fed has a mandate to keep high employment and to keep money flowing. And if you've not seen the video I did detailing what's going on with the Fed, I implore you to check that out, because as a real estate agent, lender, anyone in the real estate industry, it's important for you to know kind of what levers they have to pull and then why they would pull those levers, because that may inform what could happen in the future, whether or not rates are going to stay low for 3 years or whether, like the Zillow economist says, they're going to start ticking up. It does appear that I think they would start ticking up, but I do not think that means what everyone thinks it means. I think even if more supply hit the market, I don't see the price of homes decreasing. I would only see the rate of sale continuing to increase until buyer demand is satisfied.
I mean,
And
it would have to
I
be a
don't know.
crazy flood of homes.
We were talking earlier, like 3 or 4 months, we were saying that there was exactly half of what was needed to satisfy buyer demand on the market. You remember that? There was like 1.5 million available and they needed 1.7 more million or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like even if there was a flood of inventory, there wouldn't be enough inventory.
Well, housing starts or new construction can't catch up fast enough. So it's not like they start new ones, new projects every month. So it's not all of a sudden going to just hit. Here's 1 million new houses in November. They're going to slowly hit the market, but they're being bought, or are they? Teaser alert. They're being bought as we go. So it would have to be resale homes that just, I mean, in our market to get to 6 months, what are we selling? I'd have to have this month, I'd have to have 500 new listings or about 420 new listings in the next month to get to a bigger supply, a natural 6 month supply.
And I think all of these things are working together, from people moving out of major cities, major metros, going into some areas around the Midwest, like Dusty Martin. She says that I have friends who quit their property management jobs in Seattle and moved back to Arizona after having to drive near through the Seattle riot areas daily for months. Wow. Ryan says that we've already seen it in Houston. As a percentage of what is hitting the market every week, we're seeing 60 to 70% of those same numbers decreasing price respectively. So you're starting to see, that's right. I remember that post that you were talking about, seeing some price adjustments. And I'm wondering if that's not people that just felt like they should be able to sell their house for more and then realizing that they've overpriced, or that, agents are like, well, whatever you want to price it, let's just get it out there on the market. You'll sell it for that. And then they're kind of figuring out that that's not always the case. He says, for example, last week, 2,045 new listings, 1,479 price decreases.
So it sounds like that down real quick.
Yeah, to me, in my opinion, it sounds like sellers were a little zealous about trying to get a unrealistic price point. And I would love to know how long those properties were on the market before they dropped price.
Right. Did the agent give him a week? Like, okay, we'll try your price for a week, but then we're going to drop. Because if you really, an agent that really knows what they're doing, it's better to start low and let the market correct itself. Then you go up. But if you start high, I say it all the time to buyers and sellers. If we start too high, buyers are smart. They know what is going on. They see all this info, all this data coming in. They know if a house is overpriced. They won't even look at it, or they'll take the 3D tour and then they're out. They won't. If they're not compelled enough by the price point to come see the home physically, especially during the Rona. So I think that's that's what he's seeing.
Ryan says taking advantage of the boom. Yes, that's what I'm thinking that they're trying to do. David joins the convo. He says, "Happy Wednesday, gents."
By the way, he shared the show, so thank you, buddy.
He did share the show. I saw that he shared the show. Thanks for sharing the show, David. He's been doing that every week, though, for us. Michael Elizabeth Rodell said, or using an agent that doesn't prep the property or for market. Yep. I could see that. If it's not perfect, it's not going to sell. Well, it might sell, but it's not going to sell at the price point you want. Dusty says, I see price adjustments in my market, but it's usually overpriced for the market. People hear seller's market and they think overpriced by more than the market is going for. Some home prices are up, but list to sell price ratio is down. That's interesting. So there was a time period in the beginning, right after the Rona, that the list to sell price ratio was way up. It was over 100%. But that has gone down recently. So I guess people's mentality and maybe the agent's mindset of what they could get for the property has adjusted. Dusty said, I have 20-year charts.
We do have a lot of price decreases as well. And they're mostly 650 and up, but there's some in the 400 range and 500 range that have decreased their price. And it's 45 days on market, 41 days on market. Like, think about that. All the craziness we're talking about, pretty much every story is houses are going faster than ever. And then you get to like 41 days and you're like, dude, what's going on? Like, that used to be 100 days on market. What's going on with that house? Now 41 seems like an eternity to me. I mean, you would have to miss the price in Rancho Cucamonga. You have to miss it by $50,000.
Wow.
93 days on market, 55. Then you get into luxury and things are sitting a little longer. But
Ryan says list to sell ratio is down there too. Dusty goes on to say that as a result, I have buyers who really believe that prices are going down, but it's a false flag. Yeah, it's not that prices are going down. It's that sellers are adjusting their expectations. A price of a home is not the price of the home until it sells. So sellers are adjusting their expectations and they're selling, but they're still selling way higher than they would have sold. And they're selling way higher than they sold last year. Does that make sense? I feel like that doesn't, but I made sense in my brain when I thought about it.
I'm going to add to
it since June. David says going down because appraisals are coming in lower and more often. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Based on the crazy price or the crazy offer they agree, the crazy offer price they agree upon, then the appraisal is coming in low. But if you ran numbers from a year ago, the house is still worth another 5 to 10%. So
yeah,
they're still up. Most of my listings this year have been, listed, around average market or maybe a little low, and then it gets bid up. And thankful they've appraised. But even if they didn't appraise, we've had some that haven't appraised. It's still above where it would have been a year ago, even if it appraised. We have one in where is this one? It's in Hemet, and we told him that it was worth 265. He wanted to list higher than that, and then accepted an offer price at 293. And we were like, it's never, ever, ever going to appraise. And then it appraised at 267, but still higher than we listed at, higher than a year ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Dusty said it makes sense to me. I've been squawking about it for over a year in my market.
Squawking.
I know. It's funny to picture her doing that. Melissa said appraisals are an issue, but I've come out victorious challenging you a few recently. I've only gained at $1,000. Appraisers around here do not want to make many adjustments, if any at all.
Yeah.
Well, there's good news, Dan. I guess there's good news for maybe some that are in the market, is that all of this could be completely over. Home buyer demand may have peaked as mortgage applications eke out a weekly gain. Wait, what? So you remember last week, we were talking about how mortgage applications were down for the fourth week straight. And we also contrasted that to how inventory was up for the fourth week straight. And they were like, oh, it's over. It's over. Now it says home buyer demand may have peaked as mortgage applications eke out a gain. So mortgage applications did gain a little. But not that much. But we peaked. Yeah.
How did you peak but still go up? Now you're at a new peak, right?
That's a good question, Dan. I'm glad you asked. All right. So this is what I wrote for this article. All right. That's it. It's over. Home buyer demand has peaked because mortgage applications only gained a little week over week by 0.2%. So don't get your hopes up, okay? And that increase was likely only due to another slight increase in interest rates, which were also down to 3% from 3.02%. So, by the way, I just want to also note that applications were up 24% higher than last year, but it's totally over, guys. Totally over.
Wait. Don't gloss past that.
What?
A quarter, 25% higher than a year ago.
Well, yeah, but it only is up 0.2% compared to last week, though. So,
but from a year ago, there are 25% more buyers jumping in the market.
Yeah, but we're talking about right now. Okay, right now it's over.
Oh, right now, okay, it's over. So next week it might be okay again.
Right.
Okay,
right. So you just gotta chill here. All right, let me read this article. A quote from the article. Real estate agents continue to report robust buyer demand in markets across the country.
What?
But with little to no supply at entry level, sales will likely suffer in the coming months. So apparently, real estate agents are continuing to see robust demand, but it's all over and there's not much demand because applications are low. That does not make any sense at all. It would appear that if there was more supply, that there would be more sales. Isn't that what it appears, Dan?
Yeah, because the demand is there.
Yeah. So home buyer demand hasn't moved. Their application, because of supply, is low.
By the way,
that would be a very different headline, okay?
Imagine if you're a consumer, a buyer out there reading these articles and you don't watch the Bearded Men Real Estate Show. First of all, tisk tisk. Second of all, imagine trying to like not knowing this. Because do you guys ever have that conversation and you realize like you're going a little too high level? Like it's on the MLS and DOM and all this stuff. You're like, okay, wait. I need to go.
Right.
I used to do that when I was in the video game industry. You can see right behind me, you'll see a little Guitar Hero back there. But I realized, there you go back there. There's Johnny Napalm, modeled after me, by the way. I don't know if that's true or not, but he looks just like me. So it's the same guy. It's literally the same guy, spiky mohawk and everything. But anyway, there's no merit to that claim, but I think it's true. So that's what we're going with. Anyway, and I would realize I'd have these conversations about these bugs and all these issues, and we had to report it on. Then it was NAB and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm having a conversation with someone that's not in the video game industry. Like, imagine if you're reading this, trying to decipher all of this. And imagine if you fancy yourself a little bit of a knowledge hog and you want to know all these things. So you read a bunch of different articles, and it becomes really difficult to break these things down, especially when they say things are gaining, but it's going to crash. What?
Best quote of the day, Dusty Martin. Whoever wrote this is getting paid by the word.
Yeah.
So it's actually Diana Olick, and she's pretty good at most of this real estate stuff, but she's also pretty good at getting the clickbaity headline because that's how she gets on the air.
I mean, yeah, we've covered her a bunch of times, so something's working.
Mike Elizabeth Riddell said demand is still strong. It just takes longer to find a buyer house, 4 to 6 offers.
Yeah.
Melissa Marr said, I just had people tell me this morning that they're going to pause. Lost out on 3 offers in 3 weeks, and she's super stressed over it. Yep. Yeah. And David says, what is their source? That's a good question. I know they're looking for the data in the MLS reports and things like that in CoreLogic, but that when they said realtors are reporting robust demand, that's usually they're sourcing the National Association of Realtors and some of our information and data there.
Professional.
Dusty says, I rest my case. Professional clickbait writer. Yeah. All right. So what is another sign of a drastic downturn in the economy, Dan?
Here's the perfect headline. You ready? New home sales slow slightly.
Now, this one is from our own organization called the National Association of Realtors, Realtor, in which we licensed to Realtor.com. It has nothing to do with this article, but I feel like it's important to note that we don't really own that. Do we own that? I don't know if we own. Anyway, so
we
this
don't own
one,
Realtor.com, but we own magazine.realtor daily news.
Oh, good. And here that article is for you.
So that's good. Yeah. All right. So the new home market continues to be a bright spot in real estate, but sales scaled back slightly in September. The Commerce Department's latest data shows sales of newly built single-family homes dropped 3.5% in September to a pace of 959,000. However, sales of new homes are up 32.1% compared to a year ago as builders try to play catch-up. This is a quote from Chuck Folk. We love that guy. I just like his last name, Fowke. It's so interesting to me. Anyway, the demand for new single-family homes remains strong as interest rates are at historic lows. And he is the chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. And he goes on to say, however, the recent run-up in lumber and other material costs is leading to an increase in pricing. Now, here's where, because a lot of home builders are trying to build in that lower end market, right?
Yeah.
But rises in lumber costs have added an average of $16,000 to the price of a newly built single-family home since April. And that is according to NAHB or NAHB. The median, that's good for those listeners at home, just to hear me say NAHB. The median sales price for a new home was $326,000 in September. A year earlier, the median for a new home sale was $315,000. So it's up 11 grand. Now, this is from Robert Dietz. He is the NAHB's chief economist. The pace of new home sales growth over the summer was going to slow, given that the gap between sales and single-family construction reached an all-time high in August. Indeed, September sales of new homes that had not started construction were up 47% compared to a year ago. Inventory right now is at a 3.6-month supply. So that's pretty good, but
that's just new home. That's just new home inventory, like new home construction inventory. Okay.
So it's good that they have So here's where it's good that they have supply, but these are new homes that are just sitting essentially, and with 32% fewer single family homes for sale than a year ago. So there's a big chunk less available for sale than a year ago, but we have a 3.6 month supply.
Interesting.
So what's going on there? So it's good. There's more starts. They're getting more approvals. They're getting, more things going. But lumber costs are adding, 16 grand. And some buyers may not be able to afford that 16 grand,
There's this is back to the affordability discussion a little bit, right?
Yeah.
David says auctions will be more prevalent. You heard it here first. Wink, wink.
Okay. I had a seller asked me about auctions. I have 2 listings coming up from the same seller, and she asked about auctions. And I said, essentially, if we price it right, it will be like an auction. It'll get multiple offers. And if you make it compelling enough, they will come.
If the price is compelling, the home is selling. Speaking of, the luxury housing market inspires a total frenzy in vacation boom towns. And some of you guys that are in a vacation area, we'd love to hear your opinion and your take on this. It appears to be an accurate article from the discussions I've had with other people, but this is data from Redfin. So in the third quarter, luxury sales... Very
subtle shade. Very
what's that? In the third quarter, luxury sales are 41.5% higher than last year. That's the largest year-over-year gain in luxury sales since 2013. Though agents are not reporting as many multiple offer situations or bidding, so the auction, like Dan just said, on the luxury properties as they did this summer, they still see that the housing market is nuts. So let me touch on a few anecdotes. So that's basically the data, right? And they talked about Douglas Elliman. Miller Samuel revealed that the average Palm Beach home price in Q3 was $7 million. Contracts during the time also skyrocketed 62%. There's a quote from him. We normally average like 200 plus million on an annual basis during the first 3 quarters. We've sold 350 million worth of real estate, Coach said.
So is this essentially... This is essentially kind of what that article was saying earlier, where, if you have a business or you work in a business in a more metropolitan area, you're taking that business or you're just going and buying if you make a good amount of money, you're a quote unquote rich person, you're just buying a house and you're building in a studio or building in an office and you're working from home.
Well, and how much of this boom... How much of this boom is for people working from home, and how much of this boom is Picasso, the new startup by Zillow founder Spencer Raskoff that allows people to have a timeshare type relationship, ownership to homes, which we haven't dug into much, but Ryan and I were talking about in the BMORE chat, which if you're not a member of the BMORE contributors group, you definitely want to search BMORE contributors on Facebook with an exclamation point. And that is our group of contributors there who share articles and interesting information like this. We're actually having a discussion about Picasso and how that opens the market for people to buy these homes that were like 4 months ago struggling because they were vacation homes that people were Airbnb-ing, and then suddenly they were stuck with these vacation homes. And now I think there's 2 things that are affecting this. I think that is having an impact in some ways. One of my investors was looking at a series of lots. They're just kind of empty lots close to the beach. And they wanted to buy up all these lots and eventually build houses on them. And they closed on a deal. They were going to take all their money and buy these lots. And by the time they had the opportunity to do it, the lots were all gone. And they're like, what in the world? This property's been there and it's been vacant for years. What's happening? And that was the week that they announced this Picasso thing. So I wonder if there's some people trying to make a play in the second home market, thinking that if more people had access to purchase a second home, then that could increase the values of these second homes. And also, people are also running from the Rona and densely populated urban areas. Now that they can work from anywhere, they're like, well, where do I want to live?
Right. Especially if you can live. And then like Ryan mentioned, essentially you can own, you're not going to live there 100% of the time, but you can buy essentially, what does he say? Did he say 10-week intervals?
I can't remember.
For 200 grand and you get oceanfront property.
Let's see.
I brought up the Picasso. By the way, it's not Picasso, it's Picasso.
So yeah.
Picasso.
Yeah, y'all look into that. It's really interesting to see what's happening in the second home market.
I think they missed the mark on the name. It should have been called Picasso.
Picasso.
Like house.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah,
artistic homes. Like, why did I?
You should be in the marketing department over there.
Not to tell Spencer what to do. He seems like a pretty successful guy, but yeah.
All right, let me get
Picasso.
Let me cover a couple of these other anecdotes. And these are all kind of quotes from different realtors and people. Stephen Shane, a Compass real estate agent in Aspen, Colorado, said the buyers are coming from all over Texas, Florida, New York, and California. He said that schools in Aspen have increased their enrollment as families are putting the roots down. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. He said, quote, I think that there's a lot of people who rented and put their kids into school, and now interest rates are so low that if you think about it, it makes a heck of a lot more sense to buy something than to pay rent. Right. So a lot of the people who came here initially may have just rented just to get a place are now looking to buy a home. That's also very possible and plausible. So that kind of adds like a third mover, right? So you have the investors, you have the people that want to work from home, from anywhere, and then you have people that have been renting in these vacation spots that are now going to take advantage of the historically low interest rates to purchase a property.
That, by the way, those historically low interest rates, they end tomorrow. So
yes, that's what we've been told.
There you go. I'm being sensationalistic.
Or in 3 years.
Maybe.
So this article is on Housing Wire. You can read more of those anecdotes. Picasso, says David. 1/8 ownerships. That's what it is.
Yeah,
so
I have the
1/8 ownerships.
I have the page up now. You can decide how much to own from 1/8% to 1/2.
Yeah. So like I was thinking about this. If I was an investor and I didn't want to do a venture capital round in the company, but I believe that this company could do something and it might increase overall prices, like Airbnb increased prices of vacation homes because they could easily become rentals. And I believe that, then I would probably make a play in vacation homes.
But do I have to stay there, or can I then Airbnb my chunk out during my time frame?
David says with Picasso, it's 4.5%, 10/1 ARM. Adjustable rate mortgage. ARM. So what you're saying, ARM? Interesting. A 10-1. Okay.
Interesting prospect.
Yep. So that's kind of what's going on in luxury homes. There appears to be a frenzy. I don't know if that frenzy is so much local as it is nationwide. But let's talk about the forbearances. We've been covering forbearances ever since people were forburned, which if you haven't seen that, just stay tuned because that's going to be clipped up soon. But we've been covering the mortgage forbearances since people would call and ask for additional information, be accidentally put into forbearance. And one of the things that we've talked about is as those people drop off and out of forbearance and nothing happens to their house because they could just simply make the payments or refinance out of it at a historically low rate, then it appears that everything's going to be fine unless we see a drastic uptick all of a sudden. So Dan, what's going on with mortgage forbearances?
Well, it sounds like a good thing. So mortgage forbearance is down 2 basis points to 5.9%, led by Fannie and Freddie. So and we've been covering it since it started in April, and it's been going down and down and down. So the U.S. forbearance rate measuring the share of mortgages with suspended payments fell slightly 5.9% last week, and that's according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. And this article is from Housing Wire. Though the rate fell 2 basis points, the decline has begun to slow after 2 weeks. Of what MBA's chief economist Mike Frantantoni called a flurry of borrowers exiting as they reached the 6-month mark. So what does he mean by that? Exiting like, hey, I took my forbearance, but now I'm going to exit it and I'm going to start paying stuff back. Is that what they mean?
I think so. Or they have to refinance or they add the payments to the back end of the mortgage, right?
Right. So they took action and got out of forbearance. Okay. So that was for the first 6-month grant that they were given. The decline was largely driven by a 5 basis point drop in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans that knocked the GSEs, which are government secured enterprises, rate of forbearance down to 3.72%. And that's the 20th consecutive week that the enterprises rate has fallen. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So the GSEs drop was offset by the rate for Ginnie Mae loans, which include loans backed by the Federal Housing Administration, rising 3 basis points to 8.17%. So that 5.9% is in the middle of that, the 372 and the 817. So these Ginnie Mae's are much higher, and the forbearance share for portfolio loans and private label securities increasing by 4 basis points to almost 9%. So this is a quote from, who is this one from? This is from Frat and Tony. There continues to be a steady improvement for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, but the forbearance share for Ginnie Mae portfolio and PLS loans all increased. This is
interesting,
right? This is further evidence of the unevenness in the current economic recovery. The housing market is booming, as shown by the extremely strong pace of home sales last week. However, many homeowners continue to struggle as the pace of job markets improve. This improvement has waned. So this is the first article, Ray, that has said both sides of it. It's mostly just been down, 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 down. But this one says no, it's down, but not for everywhere. It's actually going up on the PLSs and the Ginnie Mae's.
And where's that article from?
Housing Wire.
Oh, interesting. They seem to be pretty balanced. So that is interesting. I wonder if it has something to do with maybe the qualifications and credit for the Ginnie Mae loans versus the others. I wonder just kind of what job types are included. And
the private loans, if they loosened up their standards to boost their boost their portfolio or boost their availability of loans. Right. They may be paying the price now. If they loosen things up as far as, I know you're on a furlough, but you're going to go back in a month, so we'll still approve your loan as long as you go back. You know what I mean? And then
so I do have one. Go ahead.
Sorry, I do have an interesting as well, because I did have a buyer that was pre-approved, and this is probably 4 months ago. They were pre-approved based on full income and their furloughed income, meaning they were part-time. I think they were at 2/3. So they had 2 different approvals. If you go back, you can afford this much. If you don't go back, you can afford this much. So I thought that was really interesting. Something I haven't brought up on the show. I forgot about that one, but there's more of those. Maybe those people haven't gotten back and they can't afford, or they have to go into forbearance.
Interesting. David says it spells another bailout for banks on the horizon. It could. I agree, that could. All right, so we have just a couple of minutes. We have 2 interesting articles to mention. I'm going to get to this one first. 3D printing. We covered a guy. You remember this guy that was 3D printing an entire house, and it was like $20,000 or something like that?
Well, they were doing it in impoverished countries, weren't they?
Yeah. He was
and then 3D came over here.
3D printing houses. Well, we talked about how someone could take that and make a company out of it, and they have. Right. So this company is called Mighty Buildings, and I wish Christina M. Smallhorn was on the show with us, because I would love to know her take on this kind of a tiny home situation. But basically, we've talked about land, labor, and materials, and how it costs more to build a home these days than it ever has, and how the land, labor, and materials are getting in the way of a lot of people building. Well, this company has found a way to cut costs, something major. So they're basically cutting the labor by 95%, and they use materials that are more readily available. Mighty Buildings is automating 80% of the construction process and combining 3D printing and robotics to produce homes twice as fast. So they started small. Their first build was 350 square feet. And they figured that they could build it off the truck. So after they have some of it prefabricated, all that kind of stuff, they build it off the truck in 1 day. Wow. That's amazing. And these houses, so the first group of 3D printed houses we saw were obviously different, right? It was like a little, it's interesting looking. Yeah. Well, take a look at the picture of this house.
It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice. And the interiors of them, check that out. So they're nicely done, and the materials they are using are similar materials to what you would normally use to build a home, but just a lot of the process has been pre-built or prefabricated. Yeah. They reduce materials cost by 50%, and the builds are affordable given the quality that they provide. The 350 square feet can be purchased for about $115,000.
Wow.
And a larger 700 square feet model, which is still not large enough for me, but a larger 700 square feet model is projected to cost 160 to 170,000.
That's the room I'm sitting in now, right now.
So 3D printed houses are on the way. And I think the neatest part about it, it's not like they're trying to do an entire house, but they're automating part of the process. They're using robotics in part of the process. They're decreasing their labor costs by 95%, decreasing material costs by 50%, passing on a lot of those savings, and they're able to build it faster than a normal home.
That's the crazy part. Like, imagine this is just the beginning of this stuff. By the way, I have a very clickbaity headline for whoever wants to use it. You ready?
Yeah.
Does 3D printing spell doom for new construction?
I like it. Yes. Does it spell doom for builders?
Yeah.
Dusty Martin says 350 square feet. Dusty Martin says 350 square feet is smaller than my bedroom. No way I pay 100K for that. Well, I mean, not everyone's in the market for a small home. Melissa Mara said 3D printed modular. It is kind of 3D printed, part manufactured, pre-manufactured, part robotically built. I don't know how to define that, but yes, it's interesting. You should look at the pictures of that company. What was it? Mighty Buildings. Okay, Dan, we have a bit of an update on something that we mentioned. How long ago? When was that? Was it this summer?
And remember, it was I think it was based just Houston Association of Realtors. I think it was just HAR
that even talked about it.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of agents and groups and stuff posted about it.
Right, they did, but this was the whole change with, HAR changed master bedroom.
That's right.
So that I think the John Legend mention was a while ago, and then the master bedroom and bathroom change was a couple months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah. So what's the update?
He's doing something.
Oh, good.
So he is speaking. I think let me see. I'm just going to bring this up because it's literally just the future of fair housing with John Legend. So it's actually a scheduled event for Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. And here's the actual description of the event. Join NAR President Vince Malta for a frank discussion with 11-time Grammy winner John Legend, an outspoken voice against discrimination in real estate, on the future of fair housing. The activist and award-winning artist will share his thoughts on how real estate professionals can use their voices to promote meaningful change, because I don't already, and help end systemic housing discrimination, while Mata will explain how NAR is advancing policies that allow more people to fully participate in the American dream. So yeah, and he's the speaker.
That's interesting. I feel like this is like an apology tour. Have you ever heard that? Like, famously, it was said by conservative people when Obama kind of ran around the world and apologized for America. They called it the Obama Apology Tour. I feel like this is kind of an apology tour, and I think it's both of them. I think the National Association of Realtors is kind of like apologetically adding him to the discussion, and I think he is also kind of apologetically saying, I didn't mean all you guys, because that's one of the things that he responded to in his tweet a long time ago when he said, the real problem is realtors not showing all the properties that a buyer is qualified for.
And it was a very blankety statement.
Yeah, very blankety. Yeah, and he came out after that and said, guys, I don't mean like all the realtors. I'm just saying that does seem to be a problem. So I don't know. What I'm interested to see how the discussion goes. Mike Elizabeth Brodell said, so glad he can come back and tell us how to be a realtor. Yeah, I mean, we do have the code of ethics. There's a lot of people that came out and said, well, why are so many realtors upset at what John Legend said? And I think it was like a lot of realtors were like, clean your house, and then you could tell us how to clean ours. I think that's, with all the trafficking and all that kind of stuff involved with celebrities, that was a lot of the focus. Like, who are you to tell us in our industry how to do it when you have this industry? And I don't know that that's valid either. I think we can have more constructive discussions in both industries at the same time.
Well, I think it's more, forget the cleaning everyone's house first before commenting. It's more just, it should have been more, there is an issue. Here's how we should go about it. Or here's my thoughts on how we should go about it. I'm not an agent, but, instead of y'all do this.
Yeah.
And it's happening every day in every market across America.
Glad to know NAR is going to be paying him to speak at the conference.
Yeah. And by the way, I paid zero mind to any of his comments, and I just keep running my business, loving every human on the planet. So
that's right. David said they're just trying to be relevant in the discussion. Yeah, it could be a big part of it. Dusty said, I want to know what John Legend knows about housing from a professional standpoint. Well, he did sell his house this year, or he listed it. I don't know if it sold. Yeah, but he did sell his house. It was like 20-something million this year. So just your regular average home seller experience.
Wait. It's Wednesday, November 18th. What is 10 to 11 a.m.? What's CT? Central?
Yeah. No, CT is Central, yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, I'm Central time. Is that near me? Are they in Chicago?
I don't know.
That's normally...
I'm just saying, if we could kind of watch the replay of it or get a little up.
Or almost during the show. Also,
see powerful stories about realtors who gave back to their communities, featuring a few winners of the 2020 Good Neighbor Awards.
So good job, NAR, contrasting that discussion with some positivity.
Right. Like,
what if he's still on stage where they're like, oh, and here, let's award this realtor and let's award this realtor.
By the way, I know you're saying all of us suck, but here's some realtors that give back quite often and give most of their salaries back to their communities. But I mean, I get what you're saying. Thank you, sir.
Interesting. All right. Well, I don't think any of us have a problem with the diversity, but I think a lot of us have a problem with the blanket statement telling us we're all racist when we're not. So that's basically where that comes from. Well, Dan, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Nowhere. Don't follow me. Don't find me anywhere. I don't care anymore.
There you go. You can find me at Rays or Back on Instagram, especially. That's RAYZORBACK, and on the YouTubes. And don't forget, next Tuesday I'll be on Zach Walker's show. You can look up Hometown Heartbeat, and I'll be on that. I think they're changing the name of the show to Boomer and the Beard, which is a really good show name because one of them has a beard and the other one doesn't. So I'll be there. And I really want you guys to subscribe to our channel and be sure to pick up on all those chops. We will take all of the stories, or Matt takes all of the stories, and we'll cut them up into nicely, easily digestible chops for you. We will also put in the description below all the timestamps and everything to make it super easy for you to go and jump to the article that you're looking for. So anyway.
And go listen to the podcast. We're back on
yeah.
Podcast. Go listen to the podcast everywhere good podcasts are sold for free. Go listen. Our numbers are up there. Keep listening, please.
Yeah. We've had hundreds of downloads so far. So thank you guys for that. And with that, we will see you guys next time. I don't know if I'm clicking the button.
I don't know. Bye. Boo.